Okay, so I'm Kathy Lewis, and I'm right now I'm a chair of ecosystem science and management. But as a researcher, my background is in forest pathology. So my research program has to do with disturbances that happen in the forest as a result of biotic agents like fungi and insects and that kind of thing. All of my graduate students are enrolled in the Natural Resources and Environmental Studies graduate program. There's several different options there. There's a Master of Science, Natural Resources and Environmental Studies, a Master of Arts, and a Master of Natural Resources and Environmental Studies, which is kind of an integrated program. And then we also have a PhD. I currently have 3 PhD students and 3 master's students, and I just finished graduating 1 master's student. So most of my work involves, as I mentioned, biotic agents that affect forests, that attack trees and cause tree mortality, sometimes in large scale events like the mountain pine beetle, sometimes in smaller scale events like foliar fungi that take out a few trees here and there. But it all comes under the sort of umbrella of disturbance ecology. So my whole program is based on how these biotic agents attack forests, how they cause changes in forest stand dynamics, how external influences such as climate change and forest management practices interact with those biotic agents. As an example, we know that the mountain pine beetle epidemic that we recently had in this area was partly brought on by the fact that we haven't had the cold winters that we used to, and the beetle population isn't killed over time. That's a function of climate change. And so we look at how climate change affects the beetle populations and how those beetle populations then affect the forest and how that's all integrated with forest management practices. Right now I have 1 PhD student who is just finishing up her work on looking at how mountain pine beetle has historically affected lodgepole pine forest in the very northern part of the beetle's range. So right at the point where they would be very susceptible to population dieback as a result of cold climate. That's where we expect to see some changes to those beetle populations as a result of climate change. So what she did was she went up into the northern area around Babine Lake, north of Fort St. James in that area, and sampled a lot of different trees, and she was able to reconstruct past outbreaks of mountain pine beetle using tree ring analysis. And then we are able to interpret how those outbreaks have affected what the forests look like as a result of these historic outbreaks, and look at also how climate has affected the up and down of the beetle populations and these outbreak cycles. So all of that in the end will hopefully allow us to provide some recommendations to forest resource managers as to what we might expect as a result of climate change.